Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining us today, because honestly, we are diving into what might be the single most fascinating and fiercely debated mystery in the entire tech world right now, the arrival of artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Depending on who you ask in the industry today, we are either standing on the very brink of a completely transformed society, or we are still decades away, wandering in the dark, waiting for fundamental scientific discoveries. It's a massive, wild discrepancy. So today, we're going to map out exactly what the top minds are predicting, why they disagree so sharply, and what this all means for us.
So here's the million-dollar, or let's be real, probably trillion-dollar question: how close are we really? You'd think the brilliant engineers, researchers, and CEOs actually building these cutting-edge models would have a rough consensus on the timeline, right? Well, spoiler alert, they don't. In fact, their predictions are completely all over the map. Why can't the brightest minds in tech agree on when this ultimate milestone in human history will actually arrive? To figure out this fractured landscape, we need to look closely at the specific claims being made right now, starting with the absolute loudest voices in the room.
Okay, let's dive into this. On the highly optimistic, headline-grabbing end of the spectrum, we have this wildly aggressive prediction made late last year by Elon Musk. He stated that it's increasingly likely AI will supersede the intelligence of any single human by the end of 2025. I mean, let that sink in for a second. That is practically tomorrow. And he didn't stop there. He added it might surpass all humans combined by 2027 or 2028. That is a relentlessly fast, aggressive timeline. And it really sets a high-stakes tone for the entire industry.
But you know what? Musk isn't alone in this rapid-fire optimism. When we group the predictions from other prominent tech CEOs, a pretty intense pattern of anticipation emerges. Right behind Musk's 2025 prediction, we've got Anthropic projecting a massive leap in capabilities around 2026 or 2027. Then there's OpenAI's Sam Altman, who literally set an explicit target date of March 2028, exactly 5 years after the launch of GPT-4, to achieve an automated AI researcher. Add in leaders from NVIDIA and former Google execs predicting a 3 to 5 year horizon, and you've got this whole chorus of powerful voices promising world-altering technology before the end of the decade.
To truly grasp the scale of what these optimistic CEOs are pitching to us, just look at this super vivid description from Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei. He describes the near-future state of AI as being like a newly discovered country, populated entirely by highly intelligent people just appearing on the global stage. He calls it a country of geniuses in a data center. It's an incredibly evocative phrase, isn't it? It highlights the immense power, the positive breakthroughs, and yeah, of course, the potential negative disruptions too. I mean, think about how rapidly that could reshape global job markets and challenge social stability if human labor is suddenly outpaced.
And this momentum isn't just coming from CEOs hyping up the next few years. Serious research institutes are also publishing some highly bullish forecasts. Take Epoch AI, for example. Their vision for 2030 assumes that literally just scaling up our current large language models will keep delivering massive progress. By the end of this decade, they expect these models to autonomously solve complex math, independently tackle advanced biology problems, and write and solve intricate software issues all on their own. It paints a picture of imminent, independent supercompetence.
Section 1. The reality check. Because before we roll out the red carpet for our new robot colleagues, we really need to remember the hype around past failed industry milestones. You know, things like the constantly delayed promises of fully self-driving cars or the expert systems hype from the 1980s.
Now take a look at this number here, 300 plus. That represents the over 300 experts recently surveyed by the Longitudinal Expert AI panel. When you ask this massive, diverse group of actual boots-on-the-ground practitioners and researchers about the AGI timeline, the results are remarkably different from those flashy CEO pronouncements. This huge panel overwhelmingly expects much slower progress than what the prominent leaders of frontier AI labs are broadcasting.
So the crucial takeaway here is that the caution isn't just coming from anonymous surveys, it's coming from some of the most respected pioneers in the entire field. Look at the leaders of DeepMind and Meta. Demis Hassabis, the brain behind DeepMind, says that while progress is on track, we're still 5 to 10 years away, and we absolutely require at least 1 or 2 major fundamental scientific breakthroughs to get there. Similarly, Meta's chief AI scientist Yann LeCun insists we're 5 to 10 years out because we still need several big technological breakthroughs, specifically in stuff like causal reasoning, persistent memory, and physical cognition. They are explicitly telling us that just making current models bigger simply won't be enough.
But despite these cautious warnings from scientific heavyweights, the public narrative has been completely hijacked by the optimistic timelines. We can track this perfectly on Metaculus, an online forecasting platform where a dedicated community makes predictions based on data, not marketing budgets. Over the last decade, the hype machine has radically shifted this community's consensus. What used to be a measured prediction of AGI arriving sometime in the 2050s has practically crashed down to a median expectation of late 2027. The crowd's expectations have just been forcefully accelerated by industry marketing.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Great Definition Divide.
So how on earth can these two groups, the optimistic CEOs and the cautious scientists, look at the exact same technology and come up with such radically different timelines? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the root of the mystery. There's a subtle, almost silent shift that's happened right under our noses. When we compare what these leaders are actually talking about, we realize they aren't even talking about the same thing. On side one, optimists like Sam Altman and Dario Amodei have silently watered down the definition of AGI. They're now defining it as an automated AI researcher. But on side two, cautious pioneers like Hassabis and LeCun are sticking to the original, much harder requirement: true, general, human-level intelligence across the board.
Let's look exactly at what this watered-down, automated researcher definition actually means. When the optimists promise AGI in a few years, what they mean is an AI capable of independently finding gaps in existing, published scientific literature to generate research. Now, don't get me wrong, that is a wildly impressive tool. That's going to be huge for productivity. But we have to be totally honest with ourselves here. Parsing literature to find missing gaps is absolutely not the true, encompassing human-level general intelligence the term AGI initially promised us. If the global economy is investing trillions of dollars expecting a godlike superintelligence, but we only receive a really good research assistant, man, the economic bubble bursting from that could have massive consequences.
And bam, there it is. This is the big aha moment of our entire explainer. The timelines don't match simply because the goalposts have been moved. The industry isn't actually disagreeing on when true AGI will arrive. They're disagreeing on what they're allowed to call AGI. The CEOs have moved the finish line significantly closer so they can cross it sooner, while the scientists are standing there pointing out that the real marathon is still stretching way far off into the distance.
Let's move to Section 3. Who decides when it's AGI?
Because if the definition is this subjective and the goalposts are literally on wheels, it creates a massive practical problem. Think about it. When billions of dollars, major corporate partnerships, and potentially sweeping global regulations are directly tied to hitting AGI, who actually gets to make the official call? Is it the CEO who stands to make a fortune from the hype, an academic panel? When AGI has historically been treated as this vague marketing buzzword, making the official call becomes an absolute legal minefield.
This ambiguity is honestly so dangerous that major companies are actively scrambling right now to protect themselves legally. Recently, things moved so fast that OpenAI had to entirely rewrite their core contract with Microsoft. They realized the old wording was way too subjective, so they actually went in and removed their vague references to AGI. Instead, their contract now explicitly states they will rely on an independent panel of experts to make the official call on whether or not they've reached it. When giant, multi-billion-dollar corporations start deferring to independent committees to define their finish lines, that's exactly how you know the stakes have become monumentally serious.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative question to ponder as we wrap up the explainer today. As this marketing hype continues to accelerate and these promised dates draw closer and closer, we have to ask ourselves, are we truly on the verge of building a machine that broadly thinks and reasons on a human level? Or is the industry just rushing to launch a highly capable automated intern and slapping the AGI label on it? Pay really close attention to the definitions being used over the next few years, because how we define intelligence is going to shape exactly what kind of future we build. Thank you so much for joining me to break all this down today. Keep questioning the hype and never stop learning.